Yes, Mark.
If you're rule of thumb, you generally use 3% inflation.
Yeah.
Do you let 3% now change 3% for the
Great question. I don't know if everybody heard it. Mark was saying you can put in, and we're going to show you here a little bit of the software that supports all this. You know, one of the things, Mark, that I think is real important is when a client, we put data into the model, that is the client's number, not our number, and they're watching the performance. I want them to own it. Okay. That's, yeah. So if the client says, I want 8% for inflation, yeah. Well, hi. Okay, I'm not going to argue with him. I'll put 8% in there. He says, you know what? I don't think inflation exists. I'm not going to argue with it. We'll put 0 in there. Again, they have to own it. You know, the analogy, and to me, using this model, using the software we're getting ready to look at, et cetera, are nothing more than educational tools. Okay? And the analogy of how we use them hit me several years ago. It's hit me longer than I'd like to admit, but my son will be 21 here in about a month. And when he was learning to read, and I was kind of first getting the leap license, he was, you know, he had this whole bookshelf full of books. And I'd get into bed with him, pull out one of the books, and turn the pages, help him with the word. And he would begin to learn to read his A's and his B's and his C's, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know, this whole bookshelf full of books, you know, I could pull a book out, I could look at it and go, he is not going to like this book. So Mark, I had two choices. I could say, Al, see this book? Don't ever read it. You would hate this book. Okay? Or I could take the book and go, well, here we go. And I'd lay in the bed with him and I'd turn the page and he'd help him with a word or whatever. We get finished, and guess what? He'd say, Dad, man, I do not like that book. Okay? Which one's more powerful, me telling or him discovering? Him discovering. See, what we've got to do is we've got to use these tools to help the client to discover what they're doing well, so they keep doing it, and what they thought they were doing well, but now with the ideal model and other things like that, they discover more, you know what, we should be doing something different. But I own those numbers. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Good. Good question.
I have
Yes,
a question
Gina.
about that. What if you have a client that's sitting there going, that's all good, but I just want the bottom line. Just tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm. Tell them. Tell them.
Just tell me.
Gina, and one of the things that you have to understand is, and a lot of times I'll do this during the data meeting, is I'm taking data from the client. You know, I'll kind of, based on the data, I'll kind of give them an idea how many meetings it's going to take for us to go through the model. It might be one meeting because there's not a whole lot going on there, or they got a lot of really good stuff, so it's just a little bit of time to tweak it. It might be, man, this thing's like a major overhaul, it's going to take 3 or 4 meetings. One of the things, one of my favorite questions during data is, you know, I'm learning, you know, if you and I are kind of role playing, Gina, I'm learning about you, kind of what your learning style is. Are you one that kind of wants to know the bottom line, kind of what time it is, or do you want to know how the watch is made? If you tell me, and I just want to know what time it is, then I know in our meetings, I'm going to just cut to the bottom line. Okay? If you say, I don't understand it, how'd you come up with that? Why are you making that recommendation? Well, now you're asking me how the watch was made. So now we've got to go back and do a little bit of discussion.
What if the husband's saying, just tell me what to do, but the wife is an accountant, she's sitting there going, well, I want to know how you got it.
Okay? So how would you handle that situation?
I told him to be quiet and shut her.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're trying to educate 2 learning styles in your
Yeah.
example. Okay? Ideally, we'd have the ability to do it both at the same time. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, again, you know, I've got time. I'll meet with both of them separately. Okay? But they both need to know where we're going. Does that help? All right. Any other questions? Yes, Rob.
You talked about, you know, the financial institutions educating clients about how between the one person, the IRS, and the financial institution.
Yes.
How about if they come back with, we get financial services from ourselves?
Sure.
And here you're saying that financial institutions tend to hold it on longer and so how do you accomplish that?
Okay, certainly, you know, Robbie, I'm not saying we can't use, okay? Financial institutions, one of two things, you're either going to get used by them, okay, for their best interest, or you're going to use them for your best interest, okay? So, I believe that if you want to, we can figure out a way to turn the tables where you're using them for your best interest. Does that make sense? Here's something. The financial institutions, and again, the mutual's one. Okay? I say this at Eileen McDonald's here. You know, they bought land, so they believe this. This is one of the principles, one of the foundational truths of Lee, is that financial institutions have 4 rules. Anytime they develop a product, anytime they develop training, anytime they develop advertising, they're trying to follow these 4 rules. Number 1, they're trying to get the consumer to give them money. Number 2, trying to get a consumer to do that on a regular basis. And they've got bills to pay, they've got salaries to pay, they've got overhead, so they need money flowing in on a regular basis. Number 3, they want to hold on to it for a long period of time. And then number 4 is when you want your money back, they only want to give you what? A little bit. Okay? Now, Robbie, what I do is I teach my clients those 4 rules very early in our work together. And I tell them, anytime we find a drawer in the model that fits those 4 rules, you should have a big warning sign go off in your head. Okay? Tilt, warning. Okay? You're being used by the financial institutions. They're winning and you're losing. If you're okay with that, great, we'll move on to another drawer. If you don't like that, then we need to figure out how to turn the tables. Does that make sense? Questions? Good. Other questions? That's great. Justin, you good on that acceleration?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I gave you kind of those 9 philosophies, those 9 principles that are at the foundation of this process. How do we introduce, how do we approach someone, how do we introduce this to people that we meet? Existing clients, friends, family, referrals, etc. Ashton and I are working on a PowerPoint that we'll make available to everybody that you can use to study, you can use in front of the client, etc., to introduce what it is that we do that makes you different, that they clearly understand the benefits to them, and they understand the cost. We're in the final stages of tweaking that, and we'll be glad to send that out to you. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to take time now to go over it. Okay? You need to get it, you need to look at it, you need to study it, and then certainly we can do follow-up sessions. You can talk to me one-on-one, and I can help you with it. But it will help you. Gina's used it. Gina, you want to kind of share with them a little bit? You haven't used the PowerPoint. I've kind of taught you how to do it without the PowerPoint.
The
But
approach talk?
yeah. How's that work for you?
Well, you showed it to me, and I started using it with clients, and all but one of them has come back, and we've done a present position meeting, which is just going through their model, and filled out applications.
Good. So it was something different, something they hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And you felt like it did a nice job of kind of positioning you in the relationship with them.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how people react to it.
Okay.
Like I told you, I had one guy, Dr. Baker, took a pen out of my hand and just started doing stuff for me. But it tells you a lot about the person that you're working with.
Good. Okay. Then the next is data, which will, again, if we'll do some follow-up sessions on how you get data, what the right questions are to ask, etc. We're having a management meeting this afternoon on the sales process that we're going to use throughout the company with Jonathan and Jason and Matt and Graham and myself. So we'll be getting some stuff back to you on that. I want to talk about present, problem, and solution. And this is something that I want to show you. This is the Leap software. I just, real quickly yesterday afternoon, put some information in just so you can see something. You can see up here at the top, be Al and Elizabeth Dickens, our birth dates, our children, Bess and Al. Just do some incomes in there. We certainly have the opportunity, to see and have the client share with us what they expect their inflationary increases to be. So I just put those in here. We have the opportunity to incorporate taxes, federal, state, and capital gains. Mark, as you mentioned, we have the opportunity to put inflation in based on the client's assumptions. We would put in S1 through S6, we put in all their information. They had money in a savings account, joint savings account at 0.5%, $25,000. They also had some money in a CD, they had some money in a money market account. Here's what they have in Roth IRAs, qualified plans. So what we see is they've got about $545,000 in the savings component of the model. Here in the gross securities, they've got about $250,000. They're doing a dollar cost averaging strategy of $300 a month with the assumption of earning 7%, broken up 2% for dividends, 2% for capital gains, and 3% for long-term capital gains.
Now, back on the general tab, is that where you get your 7% for the cost of money?
Yeah. Real estate, they own a home, and they've got a car loan. So there's all their assets and debt. Then we go to the insurance. They give us data to populate the vehicle and their homeowner's insurance. They've got group disability at work. They've got group major medical with a lifetime maximum of $2.5 million with a $1,000 deductible. Here's their estimates that the software calculates based on their current age and full Social Security. And here's their life insurance. They've got group, they've got some term, a small whole life policy. They've got wills and trusts that they haven't looked at since 2005. And from a cash flow standpoint, we're able to build in assumptions for technology change. Like I met with a couple weeks ago, they're big Apple geeks. Okay, that was what they said. You know, every time Apple comes out with something, we're buying it. Okay? Well, how much are you guys spending on an annual basis? Well, we spend about $3,000 a year. You going to keep doing that? Yep. So we built that in as an eroding factor. Okay. They also had some things that were going to break down. They had a roof and a dishwasher they had to replace. What was the cost of that? $5,000. We built it in. Your children. Okay. Well, we got one that's getting ready to go to graduate school, so we got to fund $20,000 a year for 2 years. So we built that in. So we can build in all of their assumptions, and then what we're able to do is we're able to populate the model with that data. So as soon as I click that button at the top, up comes the protection tab. There's all of their current benefits and deductibles. In savings, here are their current balances and their assumptive returns. In the growth component, here are the balances of their non-qualified and their real estate. Now, as soon as I click this next arrow, in comes all the money. You can see money going in. If it's protection, what would that be? Those would be in the form of what? Premiums. Good. Okay. We go down here to savings. Those are going to be contributions. These are going to be taxes that they're having to pull out to pay. Down here in the growth component, these would be contributions and an extra payment on their mortgage. Next would be the debt window. Here's what their payments are, here's the rates, here's the loan balance, and how many months to be left. This control panel right here is the most powerful part of this software. I teach my clients to think of it as a flight simulator. Think about it. A pilot goes to work for U.S. Air. First day on the job, they got their pilot's license. Do they put them behind the controls of a multi-million-dollar airliner with 400 people sitting back there? Do they do that? No, they put them in a flight simulator. You say, okay, on a perfect condition, perfect weather day, can you get from here to California? You sit in the flight simulator and they get there. You go, great. Sit back down. We're going to see if you can get from California to Salt Lake City, but along the way the right engine's going out. Can you still get there? You get there. Okay, sit back down. Can you get from Salt Lake City to Arizona with the right engine going out and the electricity failing and somebody having a heart attack? Okay? They're going to keep stressing this pilot until what? The plane goes down. Now I know where the training needs to occur. Does that make sense? We do the same thing with the model. We keep stressing this model to find out where the problems are. And wherever the problems are, just like the flight simulator, that's where we need to go to work. Has everybody got it? So the first thing that I'll do once we get the client in the meeting after they've given us all their data is I'm going to go here and I'm going to look, and say this couple wanted to retire at 65.